I'm Alexis Schroerha with Campus Reform, and today we're at the University of Virginia talking to students about the First Amendment and how free speech applies to campuses. Vice President Mike Pence will be here on campus on April 12th, and in response, the student newspaper, the Daily Cavalier, asked for his invitation to be rescinded. But what do students think about that? Let's go find out. Today we're talking about free speech and the First Amendment, and a lot of times when this comes up on college campuses, people like to talk about hate speech and how that applies to the First Amendment. So in your guys' opinion, do you think speakers who use hate speech should be allowed to speak on college campuses?
Yeah.
Yes. Should students also be allowed to protest that speech? Yeah, that's the First Amendment.
No.
Should they choose to do such a thing, expect backlash?
No. I question the intellectual merit of somebody who can't make a point with better language than that.
If you're doing it in a destructive manner, it should not be allowed. We have the First Amendment. We should have the right to freedom of speech.
Everybody has the right to say what they want. It's free speech that enables us to then decide what we believe in.
No. People who speak should be respectful for minorities. I don't think that should be covered by free speech.
How would you define hate speech?
Speech that, whether intentionally or not, would target specific groups.
I would look to the court for an interpretation. You kind of know it when you see it.
Something that the government would look at and say, hey, you're a terrorist.
Anything that's like going against a group of people.
Anything that is harmful to someone's self-identity, their religion, gender identity, that's so subjective.
Speech that would lead others to incite violence.
Speech that's meant to be derogatory to a certain group of people.
The topic of free speech has come here to UVA. We have Mike Pence, who will be speaking on April 12th. And in response, the student newspaper, the Cavalier Daily, sent out an editorial asking for his invitation to be rescinded. What do you make of this?
It was a bad policy move on their part. Let him say the dumb that he wants to say. If it's really that dumb, people will evaluate it that way.
It's perfectly within the right for people to call for that invitation to be rescinded. The university obviously can't take that decision themselves.
It's a tricky situation. He, in the past, has said a lot of things that have offended people.
Without knowing what he was going to say, you can't really decide to rescind it. If what he was going to say was hate speech, then obviously.
There's been plenty of speakers that have come to grounds that I don't support, and I just simply don't go.
He has the right to come here.
Why do you think students might be concerned about Vice President Pence coming to campus?
Pence was a vice president of Trump.
LGBT people.
Things that are contrary to the existence and respect of gay and transgender people. I don't like his message, but I don't think I'm materially harmed as a gay person for hearing it.
His religious affiliation, connection to former President Trump. We hold Catholic Mass on grounds as well. Are you threatened by the priests? That's never been brought up.
Do you think there needs to be more objective standards as to what constitutes hate speech?
Definitely, we need to think about what norms and what values we have.
Definitely.
No, the definition currently is good. The CIA and the FBI, they might have regard for hate speech as well as hate crimes.
At the end of the day, it's subjective.
It's something that is constantly changing.
It just depends on what those standards are.
It's really subjective.
It's not totally objective.